Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Robo Celestial here with a new video for you. Welcome to What If All Might Was Deku's dad. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. Welcome to this new video and what if series, which you could tell from the title is called What If All Might Was Deku's dad. Corner, he notices a massive crowd of reporters in front of UAS gate trying to get interviews with students and teachers. Izuku walks through the crowd trying to get to the gate when a reporter stops him and asks what it's like to have with All Might as a teacher, and he answers slightly nervous. Oh, he's really cool, it's an honor to be taught by him. I'd like to talk more, but I should be on my way, can't be late for class. Izuku quickly turns away from the reporter and walks through the gate and into the main building. After which the reporters stop more students of Class 1A and ask them questions about All Might. Eventually, Aizawa walks out to the gate where a reporter asks him if he can please get All Might so they can get an interview, but he simply replies, "All Might isn't on campus today. Now leave, you've already disturbed my students enough." Aizawa, turning around, walks away from the crowd as they get frustrated by his response. One of the reporters tries to walk through the gate but accidentally activates the UA barrier in doing so. This happening all while an unknown figure watches and schemes. Later, after the bell rings, Mr. Aizawa congratulates all the students for a decent job during combat training yesterday and gives out some pointers, but once he finishes his small lecture, Aizawa announces, "Now let's get down to business. Our first task today will decide your future." Hearing this, the class gets concerned that it's another test when their teacher tells them, "You all need to pick a class representative." As soon as Aizawa says this, the class is relieved to finally be doing normal school stuff. Though it does get a little hectic when most everyone says that they want to be the class rep. Things do calm down when Ida suggests they vote who the rep should be, which all the students agree to, and Aizawa goes along with it provided they can at least get it done before his nap is over. After some time, everyone votes and Izuku is elected to be the rep, receiving 5 votes. 3 being from himself, Ida, and Uraraka, with the other 2 votes being from Kirishima and Sue, who have grown a decent amount of respect for Izuku, and Momo is the deputy getting 2 votes. Everyone is generally okay with this, including Ida, though he is a little disappointed that he got 0 votes, and Bakugo is of course pissed with the results. Not long after the election, Class 1A heads to the cafeteria for lunch where Izuku, Ida, and Uraraka sit together but are also joined by Kirishima and Sue, who join in on their conversations. During this time, Izuku admits that he's worried about not being a good fit for class rep, but Uraraka tells him that he'll do great, and Ida says, "Nonsense, you're clearly the best choice for the job. Your courage and quick thinking under pressure will make you a worthy leader. Not to mention the strength that you've shown. That's at least all the reasons why I voted for you." Izuku is a little surprised that Ida voted for him, but before he could reply, Kirishima butts in. "That's pretty much the same reason why I voted for you. The way you handled yourself in that fight against Bakugo was epic and super manly." Sue then adds, "Not to mention you're humble and respectable. I'd much rather have a class rep like you than, say, someone like Bakugo." Izuku is a little lost for words and doesn't really know how to react, and just thanks them all for believing in him. After, Uraraka asks, "Hey Ada, didn't you really want to be rep? I mean, you look the part because of the glasses. Why not vote for yourself?" Ada responds, "Well, wanting a job and being suited for it are quite different things. Observing the Ida Family Hero Agency has taught me that much." This catches everyone's attention, and they start asking Ida about this agency, which he tries to brush off until they finally break him, and Ida tells them that his family have been heroes for multiple generations and mentions that his brother, Ingenium, which blows everyone away, especially Izuku, who fanboys out a little. Ida then says, "Ingenium is an unmatched commander who honors the hero code. As the second oldest Ida son, I strive to be just like him. However, I'm not ready to be in a real leadership role like you, Izuku." Deku replies, telling Ida that he thinks he would be a great leader if given the chance, which makes Ida feel better, and Uraraka says that it's nice to see Ida smile instead of being all serious, and he should do it more often, which makes everyone at the table laugh a little. But the moment is cut short when a level 3 security breach alarm suddenly goes off. Ada asks a third year what the alarm is for, and he tells him that it means someone has gotten past the school's barriers and that they need to evacuate immediately. Ada, along with everyone else at their table, leave and head out into the hallway, where they get caught up in the panicked and stampeding crowd, which quickly separates everyone from each other. Ada slowly makes his way to a window and sees that the group of reporters were the ones who set off the alarm. Ada tries to get everyone's attention to tell them that everything is fine, but no one is listening. After a minute, he eventually sees Izuku and Uraraka a few feet away. And he makes his way over to them asking Uraraka to make him float so he can get everyone's attention and let them know what's really going on, which she does. Once Ada is floating above everyone, he gets ready to use his engines to push himself to the exit, but before he can, Izuku floats up with the help of Uraraka and offers to give him a hand or foot. Izuku then uses 11% in his legs and pushes Ida forward to the exit while pushing himself in the opposite direction, but this does help Ida get to the exit without using his quirk, and he lets everyone know that it was just the press outside managing to calm them all down. Not long after that, the police arrive and escort the reporters off of UAS campus while all the students went on with the rest of their day. Back with Class 1A, as Izuku is getting ready to discuss who the other class officers should be, he tells everyone that he feels Ida should be their class rep because he was able to get control of the earlier situation and calm everyone down easily, which a majority of the class agrees with, and after a short discussion, Ida accepts the position under a condition that Izuku will also be a deputy, which Mr. Aizawa says is fine as long as they stop wasting time. The rest of the day goes on with the principal and a few other faculty members inspecting the gate and realize that this was no accident, either being a show of power or a declaration of war, but overall the remainder of the day is uneventful and ends fairly calm, but tomorrow will be quite different. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called Anime Theory. Anime Theory mainly focuses on a large variety of mind-boggling anime theories. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. The next day starts up with All Might going around the city taking out villain after villain without using up the entirety of his time, with All Might's time limit only being about 3.5 hours. He is stretching himself thin, but when he gets to UA, he'll only need to rest up for a little while before he can teach a class. Now over with Class 1A. After the bell rings, Mr. Aizawa announces that the class will be doing rescue training and will head to an off-campus facility for it. This excites all the students as they get ready and head out to the bus, where Ida tries to get everyone on in an organized fashion, but it ends up being pointless because of the bus's open layout, but ultimately the bus leaves UA without any issues. During the trip, everyone starts talking about their quirks, with Izuku being first, though most of it is all just compliments, and the conversation eventually turns to Bakugo and Todoroki, where everyone begins to pick on how Bakugo tends to yell and get angry a lot, which of course causes him to shout at everyone. Once Mr. Aizawa tells the class to calm down, it's fairly boring until they get to their destination. When the class steps off of the bus, they are greeted by Pro Hero 13, which excites just about everyone, especially Izuku and Uraraka. 13 then asks the class to follow her into the facility, and when they do, everyone is in awe by the inside as 13 starts to introduce the facility: a shipwreck, a landslide, a fire, a windstorm, etc. I created this facility to help teach young heroes in training like yourselves how to deal with many different types of disasters. And I call this place the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, but you can call it the USJ for short. After Aizawa walking up to 13 asks her where All Might is, and she tells Eraserhead that All Might overused his quirk and needs to rest, but he'll be able to join them halfway through the rescue exercises. Meanwhile, back at UA, All Might is in the teacher's lounge trying to rest up as best he can. But back at the USJ, 13 starts to explain her quirk and warns the students about how dangerous her quirk, along with all of theirs, can actually be if they use them improperly, even if it's to do something good like saving someone, and ensures that they understand how today's exercises are to teach them how to save people's lives, not to hurt or harm, because this is something a pro must know how to do. Once 13 finishes her speech, everyone begins to applaud her, getting pumped up for the exercises, but right as Aizawa gets everyone's attention to start the class, the power begins to fluctuate and eventually shut down as a strange shadowy portal starts growing in the middle of the facility. Once the portal grows big enough, a massive number of villains march out of it, confusing everyone as they start asking if this was a part of the exercise. Izuku takes a step forward to get a better look when Aizawa shouts, "They must have someone who can jam our communications. That's unfortunate. It's clear they chose this moment to attack for some reason and planned it out accordingly, so all of you need to get out of here now. 13 Evacuate the students and call the campus for help when you can. I'll hold these punks off until backup arrives." Izuku yells back at Aizawa in concern. "What, but you can't take them all on? Your quirk is better suited for stealth or one-on-one fights, not a massive group brawl. It's too dangerous to fight without help. Aizawa then gives a confident smirk and says, "Kid, you can't be a pro if you only have one trick." Aizawa then runs and leaps off of the stairs, rushing fast towards the villains as they got ready to use their quirks to deal a swift end, but Aizawa erases their quirks, stopping them, and began to cut away at the villains' ranks with a surprising amount of ease, surprising the whole class as they watch. As the fight continues, Izuku gets slightly distracted by it, but once Ida regains his attention, 13 tries to get everyone out of the facility, but as they run towards the exit, a dark mist instantly forms in front of the exit, blocking anyone from escaping. When a voice rings out from the mist, "Hello, it is a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains. I know it's impolite, but we've decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to greet you and end the life of All Might." After all, doesn't this seem like a fitting place for the symbol of peace to take his last breath? Izuku and everyone else are confused and concerned by this statement as the warp villain continued. "I believe All Might was supposed to be here today, and yet I see no sign of him. There must have been a change that we were unable to foresee. Oh well, I suppose it doesn't really matter. I still have my role to play." The mist villain prepares to attack, with 13 doing the same, but Bakugo and Kirishima interfere by jumping in and attacking, which causes a large explosion, but after the smoke clears it reveals that the villain is unharmed, shocking everyone. 13 orders the two students to get out of the way when the mist villain says, "You're quite annoying. It would be better if I scattered all of you across this facility to meet my comrades and your deaths." The villain activates his quirk and surrounds well over half of the class in a dome of dark mist and warps them all across the USJ in an instant, leaving only 13. Uraraka, Ida, Shoji, Satu, Siro, and Ashido by the exit with the warp villain. Over in the shipwreck zone, Izuku falls out of a portal straight into the water. As he regains his bearings and swims up to the surface, he notices a water villain charging towards him to attack. Izuku, activating 11%, readies himself for a fight, but Sue quickly knocks out the villain and grabs Izuku with her tongue while swimming away with him and Minta. Sue, along with her two classmates, go to a fake ship where they get on board to rest up and talk about what the warping villain said earlier. But not very long after, a large group of random villains surround the ship and prepare to attack the students, making Minta freak out as Deku thought nervously about how the villains can kill his dad, but only came up with one conclusion and tells his two allies, "If these villains have a way to kill All Might, then we have to stop them. No one at UA knows what's going on, and we can't sit by and let this happen. We have to work together to save All Might, ourselves, and everyone else." As Izuku says this, every member of Class 1A and the Pros 13 and Aizawa are facing their own challenges, trying to figure out ways to handle the current situation. Meanwhile, back at UA in the teacher's lounge, All Might attempts to call Aizawa and 13 a few times but is unable to get a hold of them. All Might gets concerned and decides to head off to the USJ, but as he stands up to leave, Principal Nezu walks in and stops him, asking All Might to stay for a quick chat, which he agrees to, and as they both sit down, Nezu pours some tea while saying, "I saw the news articles this morning. Well done resolving all those incidents, but you know you can't go to everyone who needs help anymore. It's why I gave you this job in the first place, so you could help shape the next generation of heroes." All Might replies, "I know it's just hard to do that, sir. I don't think I could ever stop helping people if I can. It's just who I am, I suppose." Nezu then states, "Yes, I understand, but regardless, you need to focus on your new responsibilities as a teacher. You've already done a lot for your son Midoriya, but as a teacher you need to help the students here to grow just as much as your own son, and you very well can't do that while hiding in the teacher's lounge now, can you?" All Might takes a sip of tea and says, "Yeah, you're right, sir. I can't neglect my responsibilities to my students, but something tells me it won't be easy to adjust." Nezu responds, "Well then, I suggest you get to working on it right away. If you feel good enough, then why don't you take a stroll to the USJ? By the time you get there, the exercises should be half over. That's better than missing the entire class now, isn't it?" Agreeing with Principal Nezu, All Might leaves the teacher's lounge and walks to the USJ in his weak form, but meanwhile back at the USJ, as Minta is freaking out and yelling that they should wait for the pros, Deku points out that the villains don't seem to know what their quirks are because of Sue being sent to the shipwreck zone with them, giving them the idea to explain their quirks to each other so they can work together more efficiently. After Sue explained hers, Izuku explains his as Spartan Boost, saying that it increases all of his physical abilities and that he at best can only use 13% of his full power. Minta then explains his quirk and after proceeds to freak out some more when a massive attack hits the ship, making it start to sink. Minta panics in response and throws some sticky balls at the villains in the water. Izuku, seeing how the villains react, starts to hatch a plan, and after a few seconds he tells Minta and Sue to get ready for an opening, and before they can respond, Deku jumps off of the ship. Izuku realizes that he needs to use 100% of One for All to get out of the situation, but he also knows that it will do damage to his body if he uses it, so as Izuku falls he focuses all the power into his index finger and flicks, sending an immense amount of wind pressure into the water and creates a whirlpool that starts to suck in all the villains. Once Sue notices the opening, she grabs Minta and jumps off the ship using her tongue to grab Deku as they pass by. While Minta, who's inspired by Izuku's actions, throws a large amount of sticky balls into the water, causing all of the villains to stick together as they are sucked into the whirlpool, allowing Izuku, Sue, and Minta to escape. When they get to the edge of the shipwreck zone, Deku looks at his index finger and notices that the bones in it are broken, but he ignores the pain as best he can and comes up with a plan to sneak along the shore of the shipwreck zone to the exit, while him and his small group also check up on Aizawa to see if he needs any help. As the Izuku's group moves to where the massive fight is taking place, they witness Eraserhead taking down a handful of cronies easily, but as he finishes them off, Aizawa notices the strange man with a hand mask charging towards him and moves forward to take down this foe, but the villain finds an opening and swiftly takes it, grabbing onto Aizawa's elbow and begins to decay it. In reaction, Aizawa kicks the decay villain away and jumps back, trying to recover as he fights off more lackeys. When the strange villain finally gets back on his feet, he starts to laugh and gloat as he says, "You're so cool. Even after I injured you, you're still willing and able to hold your own in a fight where you're at a disadvantage. Not bad, Eraserhead, but unfortunately for you, I'm not the final boss, that is." As the villain says this, he smirks and points to a large creature that suddenly appears behind Eraserhead. When the creature grabs Aizawa, it starts beating him down ruthlessly, breaking his arms like twigs and slamming his head into the ground repeatedly. The creature continues to maul the pro as three of his students watch in horror. Deku readies himself to help his teacher, but before he can, the decay villain raises his hand as he walks up to the broken pro, signaling the creature to stop its rampage. The villain kneels down next to Aizawa and starts talking to him. "Impressive, wouldn't you say? I'm Shigaraki, the leader of the League of Villains, and this is Namu," gesturing to the creature as he says its name, "and he is our anti-symbol of peace, created specifically to destroy All Might. That's actually one of the reasons why we're here, and while you can't help us with that, you can at least help me with my second objective. If not, then I'll just kill you and all your precious students until I accomplish it. Understand? So tell me, which one of these brats is the son of All Might?" We continue back at the USJ as Shigaraki is standing over a broken and beaten Eraserhead, introducing himself and his anti-symbol of peace, Namu, when he asks a surprising question. "So tell me, which one of these brats is the son of All Might?" Confused, Aizawa looks up at Shigaraki with blurred vision, answering, "I don't know what you're talking about. All Might doesn't have a kid. Hell, I don't even think he's been married once in his entire life." Tamura scowls at Aizawa, snapping his fingers to signal Namu to start breaking the pro once more by smashing a few bones in Eraserhead's left arm to dust. As Shigaraki retorts, "I said that if you didn't tell me what I wanted to know, then I would kill your students until I found what I'm looking for, but since I have some respect for you, I'll ask one more time. Tell me who All Might's son is." Aizawa replies that he has no idea what the villain is talking about, honestly telling the truth, but Tamura believes it's all lies, and before he orders Namu to deal some more pain, he states, "Either you think I'm an idiot or you are one, but it doesn't matter. I told my coons that they can hurt your students as much as they like, provided they at least bring them all to me barely alive. So I'll get my answers either from them or you once I kill a few myself, but in the meantime I'm happy to watch my pet break you a little more." Shigaraki then gives the order for Namu to continue, which it mindlessly does, nearly tearing Aizawa apart. Izuku, along with Sue and Minta, watch as the monster continues to destroy their teacher, not even able to think about the question that the villain kept asking. After a few short seconds, Izuku snaps out of his shock, quickly telling his two comrades to be ready to grab Eraserhead when there's an opening before running straight off towards Shigaraki, pushing himself to 15% throughout his whole body. Deku swiftly appears next to Shigaraki, and before the villain can dodge, Izuku deals a powerful right hook, sending his foe flying. When he then turns and punches Namu in its exposed brain, thinking that it's a weak spot, but the attack doesn't even faze the creature. This catches Deku off guard, and as he lands back on the ground, Shigaraki slowly gets to his feet. He points at Izuku, telling Namu to fetch, which causes the creature to charge forward and backhand Deku into the ground, leaving a small crack where he hit. While this happens, Minta and Sue run up, managing to grab Mr. Aizawa without the large beast noticing. However, Shigaraki does see them running off with the pro, but decides that he has something potentially more important, letting them go as they rushed up the staircase with their teacher. Izuku attempts to get up, but Namu stomps on him, cracking the ground more and effectively trapping him beneath what felt like a tank. Midoriya tries to get himself free with every ounce of strength he has, punching the ground along with Noma's foot, but gets nowhere and is unable to do anything as Shigaraki walks over to him with a slight grin on his face as he kneels down and says, "Not bad, you're pretty fast and strong, kid. I have a suspicion you heard what I said too, and yet knowing what you knew, you still jumped in and tried to save someone else regardless of what would happen to yourself. Maybe you're the one I'm looking for, because I already hate you just as much as I hate All Might." Meanwhile, with the students at the gate as Sue and Mine to get to the top of the stairs, they along with everyone else witness the warp villain turn black hole against 13, severely injuring her, causing everyone to freeze with terrified expressions on their faces.